But anyway, so my name is Ben Breard. Thank you all for being here. I am a Linux nerd. Like I eat, sleep, breathe this stuff. It actually makes me sad that I have a Mac up here, but I promise I have like 5 Linux boxes for every Apple product I own. Um, but what we're going to talk about is kind of the evolution of like immutable operating systems. So I've been working on some flavor of immutable OSs for over a decade now. Really, every iteration that we've done at Red Hat, and before that was containers, and Anthony and I spent a bunch of time on Edge. Good people back there. But yeah, so let's see. How many of you are like familiar with containers and use them on a regular basis? It's like 70% of the room, I would say. We love containers. What do you guys like about containers? Portable. Yep. It doesn't just work on my laptop. It's the same. Anything else? Yep. Yeah. It's contained. So I think if I think back long enough, so many shops were reinventing like application delivery at those levels, right? Like I remember one customer wrote a whole system around like deploying tarballs for their application stacks, large retailer. This is a super elaborate thing, and that was how they managed software for a very, very long time. Even in the middleware days, like when I first joined Red Hat almost 15 years ago, there wasn't a lot of consistency at this level, and so containers were amazing because it gave us just kind of like standards at the right altitude where pretty much everyone can use it and it works everywhere. And it's pretty much for the past decade been confined to applications. And so with image mode, we're going to talk about this magic technology called bootc. Does anybody know what that stands for? Did someone say Spaceballs? It does not stand for that. That's close. It stands for boot container. And by the way, does anybody recognize the seal from Podman's logo? That's what the seal is from, right? He's in a container. Unfortunately, a coworker of mine said, "Why is the seal in a dumpster?" It is not a dumpster. It's a container. Okay. It's cruel. He ruined this cool hoodie. But yeah, so now with image mode, we can take all the same build systems, the same language, the same tools, completely tooling agnostic, doesn't matter. And we can deliver apps the same, or operating systems the same way that we've been doing apps for the past 10 years. So why would you want to do that? Let's see. How fast do you guys use a new version of RHEL when it comes out? You're laughing. What? A year? 2 years? 3? Yeah. Yeah. When we don't want to pay for extended life. Yeah, I get you. So I think one thing though is, what if we made it like drastically easier to move to new releases? And I'll talk about that. Actually, and by the way, everything you're going to see here is in tech preview and RHEL today. But we've been working with a huge amount of like early adopters, like really big ones. We're going to have two huge companies talk about how they've been using this for the past year at Summit, and then there's about 5 or 6 more that I would love to talk publicly about. They're just not a public reference for us, but it's been really cool. And one of the guys said, his comment was, "This is the developer interface I want for an operating system," which is interesting because we always kind of think like sysadmins work with the operating system, but it's been interesting to see the perspectives change on this. But anyway, so I think it's just moving fast, and what we're going to show is I'm VPN to my house. This is not a professional demo, so like if it's tethered through my phone, so this may go up in smoke. Thank you for recording this, Nick. This will be great. But yeah, so we'll see how this goes. But anyway, basically, you'll see like never in my life have I deployed more systems and thought about less or taken any energy. Like I don't do anything, and it just goes. All the systems set in motion, and they just do the right thing. And so we'll talk into how that works and everything. I'll just hit on a couple of these other points on the security side. There's huge amount of advantages to running the operating system part of the disk, and we can get into the file system layouts later. But just the OS stuff under /user is read only. We can do FS Verity to basically ensure that the signature on the container you get, you're actually using FS Verity through a component we call ComposeFS, that the OS is cryptographically verified while the system is running, which is like actually really cool because most operating systems you don't have a kind of verification at that level while you're running. And yeah, we'll get to everything else here, but that's a little bit about what image mode is. So the first thing I want to say is we're going to violate a rule that we told you not to do for the past 10 years in containers, and we're going to put a kernel in your container image. So okay, so because it's a different target, right? The whole point, historically with containers is we're gonna start on a host, right? And we're all gonna share the kernel. Obviously here, we're just using the image as a packaging and distribution mechanism, but we're gonna write this to Metal or write it to a virtual machine or cloud image or whatever else. So we are gonna put that in the container. And so really the default image we give you is, you can think of it as like what you would have in a smallish Core OS, right? It's pretty small when it's compressed, about 800 megs. On disk, it is bigger because it's a complete OS, and you get an idea of everything that's on here. Let's talk about bootc. So if anybody here heard of RPM OS tree, yeah, a bunch of people. RPM OS tree is, or I'd say bootc is the evolution of OS tree. Let's say it that way. We are still using OS tree under the covers. This is the technology that was running underneath Atomic, if anybody remembers RHEL Atomic, or which you may know is RHEL Core OS and OpenShift today, or Fedora Core OS. bootc is like the next iteration evolution of this. And so we do use some OS tree under the covers. Over time, though, more of the OS tree is going to shift into ComposeFS. So bootc is like the front door CLI. It actually does several things on the node that are interesting, but from our perspective here, a lot of we can build a container like Docker build, Podman build. We build a container using the base image you saw on the previous slide. That probably makes sense. We can push it to a registry. That probably makes sense. We can pull it back down. That probably makes sense. But then how do I like install it on Metal? That's where this gets new. How do you actually boot the thing? And so I'm not going to go too deep, but let's say if you're running bare metal, everybody here anybody heard of Kickstarter, Anaconda? This is kind of how we install on bare metal. We like do it in the data center. You probably use Pixie. All that works. And basically there's one command. It's where instead of installing your RPMs, you'll just point at the registry, and so Anaconda is going to set up your disks, lay those down, and then we're just going to splat the container image on top. So there is no container engine at runtime. You're running the system. So when you want to update, you build a new container image and then bootc upgrade, or you can use a timer, or you can use satellite, or you can use insights, or you can use Ansible. You can use whatever to manually apply the update, right? Pretty cool. And then of course, if one goes out that you didn't go so well, or for whatever reason, maybe it's just a test bed, you can of course go back to the previous state of the system. Has anybody ever tried to roll back on a DNF system or using Yum and roll back? Kind of, yeah. Yeah, we like VM snapshots when that comes up, right? Yeah. But honestly, in image mode, you type bootc rollback and reboot, and you're good. Now, if I asked you guys how most of you were doing image management today, I imagine some of you would say, well, we make gold images and we refresh them on some kind of cadence. Maybe it's quarterly or something, and then I hand those off to people, and various app teams know to use that image or whatever the latest one is. It's kind of the thing. And then they'll install that image or deploy it, and then they'll configure it either, God forbid, hopefully not manually, but either run some Ansible or Puppet on it or something, right? That's kind of the normal pattern we have. And Red Hat has been preaching the SOE, standard operating environment, for many, many, many years, which is a great model. And you absolutely should do that. Image mode lets us put our SOEs in this format, like a container file. Because one of the things I didn't hear about Docker images that are really cool is you can say from an image and then change something or build on top of it. You create a derivative image, which is super powerful. And I think you can do this with VMs to a degree, right, with snapshots and things like that. But this is far more portable, right? Because you can do it locally, you can do it in a build system, you can do whatever. But now we can distribute any corporate standard image, and a database team can grab it and make a database image that they want to then deploy and go like that. So I think we're actually moving these base image concepts more into the language that consumers of these speak. And so it actually works quite well. So my observation from many years in the field is companies will do really, really good job of whatever the crown jewel mission critical thing, let's take SAP shops. They will have an SAP landscape, and they will mirror it across, dev, test, QE, whatever name. They'll probably have five layers of staging before they roll in a change. And you put so much energy into that everything else is kind of we're just going to patch and pray. I don't know. It's probably good enough. Does that sound familiar? No? Maybe? I saw some shy nods, so I think I'm right. I don't know. Fight me. they do serve alcohol here, by the way. Anyway, so it just seems like people put that energy into where it's needed most, and everything else, we don't get as much of that. This is actually I think the highest value of containers is how easy it is to test. Someone said portability and immutability earlier. We get the exact same result wherever we run it. Well, with image mode, I can Docker run, Podman run, and I'm in the same user space as when I boot into the container. It's just a container. So now all of my testing and validation can be done way cheaper, way faster. Yes, if you need to do end-to-end and test kernel modules, you do still need to install and boot it and run it, and you can do that. Yes, it is more advanced, but man, you can also really catch a lot of things historically. Just running it and testing the user space up is super powerful. And this is something that we not really had the opportunity to do at an OS level before. And so rather than just letting the pieces come together in production, we're a much bigger fan of kind of the whole shift left thing. Do it up front, do your testing there, and once it's right, taking that artifact into production. So let's talk GitOps a little bit, because this is kind of my favorite thing to talk about right now. I think normally when we think GitOps, we think of, well, I've got this declarative config that I'm going to push down to like a Kubernetes environment. It's a great use case for it. Or maybe I version my Ansible playbooks into Git. But bunch of things at that level, but I don't think we've been able to natively do it at the operating system level previously, or maybe you'll put parts of the operating system. We'll put some config files. We'll put some kickstarts into Git and version them that way. But when you look at how containers are distributed, I swear to God, any container image on Docker Hub, if you go look at the source, it's going to take you to GitHub, right? And it's got GitHub actions that watch the base image that trigger a rebuild, or watch base commits when they come in, and then it pushes it back to the registry. The whole thing works that way. And now your operating system does too. Think about that. Every single Linux box I have is just a Git repo. and it all runs on. I live in the future. I don't SSH. I don't type commands. Well, I mean, if I, see, that's how you need to use a system, I will do it. But the robots are in charge, and it's amazing. But anyway, so a buddy of mine, Matt, my scene, put together a really good getting started guide. You can take a picture. It's up there. But this is a really good way to kick the tires. Again, this is all just part of RHEL. It's part of the OS. And yeah, this was kind of like my journey is like, anytime you feel the need to VI a file on a system, stop yourself. I would have said Emacs, but that would be cruel. Anytime you want to edit a file, don't do it on the system, right? Do it in the repo. And yeah, and we'll get in and show some stuff, but it's great. I think I kind of already covered the testing and validation side, but I'm curious, like if I ask you guys how much testing and validation of updates do you do? Like, do any of you guys do like really strict discipline of promoting updates, or is it only in pockets, or I don't know, is that something that you guys spend energy on, or is it just patch it all and then we'll come back and clean up if anything breaks? Yeah, the really critical stuff, right? Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think this is super cool because we have the opportunity to really kind of, I think, deliver like higher quality systems, and not just in terms of like the binaries. These are the same. It's the processes around it, right? I even think like this solves a lot of the patching challenges people have, which we can get into if that's interesting to anybody. Okay, does anybody here ever use Renovate Bot? Or, yeah, anybody know GitHub Actions? This is new. This is gonna be new for some of us. So this is the least professional slide I've ever made. If I start on the left, this is our base image, right? And then we're gonna make like the standard operating, like the corporate standard. And then I'm gonna have another container file that's like a workload. Yes, you can run Microsoft SQL on Linux. It's awesome, and it's like actually super popular. And then the system on the other end is like running that image. Okay, does that make sense? So how do updates work? Who knows? Who can tell me that? One at a time, right? So at Red Hat, we ship base images because we're at Tech Preview. It's more like a 2-week cadence right now. We're actually toying between doing a 1 week right now when this GA. By the way, this will be GA at Summit. You should totally come to Summit and hear the talks on this. Yeah, so there's a cadence from Red Hat, right? We actually do batch updates for RHEL on a 6 weeks cadence unless there's a high severity, or I forget the tier of the CVE, but we will do asynchronous security releases. And then we'll also respin containers off of that. So the same applies here, right? Since we're talking about container images. So what you could do is just say, hey, on a time-based interval, maybe weekly, go check if there's an update, and if so, basically you can use cron to do this for you within GitHub. I'll show that in 1 second. But there's this other thing called Renovate Bot. It's not an official picture of Renovate Bot. But container images, everybody knows tags. I think less people are familiar with digests. But what the bot does is he looks at digests and tags, and you can say, hey, I'm on 9.4, right? And Renovate Bot will say, hey, did you know 9.5 is out? Do you want to do it? What do you think? And so whenever the time's right on your side, you can say, yes, I want to do that. It's pretty neat. But so whenever we release a new one, he'll grab that hash and then respin the SOE image. We'll rebuild automatically. No humans, just Bender. And then, of course, once that one gets built, he'll say, and build the final one for you. And why this matters is if you get into, because we started this out doing just time-based builds, so like, hey, just build it every week. But we started noticing with some of the customers we're working with, when you start having like many permutations, you actually need efficiency in the build systems, right? And so rather than timing everything off of when you get one, it actually makes sense to break down to different layers and build this way. And then of course you control the release on when you want the images to go. But the idea here is like, if there's a headline CVE, you could do one path where you come in, you panic, there's a staff meeting, and we're like, let's find everything where it is. Or you walk in and say, it's already built, when you want to deploy it. I like that path better. That's the world. That's the world I want to live in. Okay, and then of course on the node, it can either deploy it during a regular maintenance window. Of course, you can use satellite insights, Ansible, something else to make it apply the update. Does anybody want to see demos? Who wants to see more slides? One guy. You ruined it for everyone. We can't have nice things. More vendor. Yeah. Yeah. I love the show. This microphone does not fit this clip, if anyone's curious. Okay. Let's see. Can everybody read? I'm just kidding. I can't even read that. I can read it. Okay, I'm also old. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, this is so awkward, like it's for other people. This is fine. I'm gonna do this. We're casual, right? We're all friends here. This is good. Okay. This is again, I did warn you, this is not a professional. This is Ben's house. Okay. But I'm actually on. Okay. Does everybody here know what cockpit is? Yeah. 4 people. No, just kidding. You know the guy who started this. We told him it's like Webmin, but it doesn't suck. And his reaction was he literally punched me in the arm for using Webmin in the same sentence with cockpit. It's not the only time he's hit me. I definitely deserved it. Okay. But yeah, this is actually really cool. Let me reconnect if I could read. Oh yeah, I did warn you we're tethering here. All right. Okay. So this box runs that container. Well, that image, right, is booting into it. There's a previous one. And like clockwork, every Friday it builds, every Saturday it deploys, and I wake up and have a new fresh system. And it makes me angry that this shiny Apple product like alerts me for things. I just want it to just do the thing for me. Anyway, okay. Let's see. So this is actually the box we're gonna look at here. In fact, I'll just show you. I grabbed some packages, and the only reason it's this much text is because you got to do some of the NVIDIA stuff. Yes, thank you for that. Don't actually worry too much about the details on this, but I'm just showing like from the parent image. Copy a couple configs from Etsy, make a couple directories, and then install some software, download some fonts, and then build a kernel module. I'm going to build it in the container, not when it boots, right? And then I'm going to do some linting to make sure everything's cool, which is an important bootc feature. And that that is the gist of it.
Why is Linux permissive?
My RHEL demos have it enforcing. This is Fedora. No, but seriously, on my daily driver workstation, I run it from this. Is the answer. I actually think I could probably turn that off and be fine now. Back in October, we changed the way SE Linux policy gets applied over var, and that cleared up. Before October, it was actually kind of complicated in that area, but again, it's going to be enforcing on the other stuff you see. Clever eye. Okay, let me back up. Actually, what I wanted to show you. Oh my God, the text is so big. Is that readable? Okay. I did have to clean up some stuff, but like I said, actually, let me go on. Okay, I'll go to the RHEL stuff now. The very, very simple, basic, like standard image. I've got a couple configs I'm copying over. This string, again, is maintained by the robots. All I did was put the letters 9.5 in there, install a few packages. Just, again, really, really basic stuff. SE Linux is running. Or it's not explicitly disabled here, right? That's the idea. And then if we look at, oh my God, I'm bad with this font size. Yeah, you can see this is where the bot updates, right, on a regular basis. Okay, and then from here we're going to build the Microsoft SQL database image, and basically Microsoft has a really good docs for quick starts. I don't know if anybody is familiar with here docs using in a container file, but you basically don't have to, ampersand at the end to get multiple commands into a single layer. This will give. So what this means is you can just copy and paste a bunch of bash commands and just paste it right in, and it'll run beautifully, depending on what you do. So I basically just took their quick starts, dumped it in this, added, a little demo script, and that's it. Super easy. This one is actually up the game because it's running in FIPS mode on the operating system. And then we build from there. So, again, and the way this works, I'll just for fun, I'm going to blow away the digest. I'm just going to say go to 9.4. So the next build will commit that change. And again, anytime we make a change, where did actions go? Their actions. The normal thing you would expect. Like I'm not using any calories on building, pushing, doing any, like the whole thing is doing it for me. And this is why when I asked if anybody knows what GitHub Actions are, there not a whole lot of hands went up, but you basically just have a really simple. Let me show you. This is the magic, and this is what's in that getting started guide. I don't know how well you can read this. Is that semi-readable? Okay, cool. If you want to go time-based, right? Everybody knows cron. I did not say tron. I said cron. So what branches, and then this is the template we have at that blog post, but basically just name your image and point at a registry you want it to go at. If you want to do multiples or something fancy, you can do that. We'll clone the repo. This is probably the next interesting one. If you need to log into a repo, we can do that. We'll actually put the image together, and this is pulling the variables we set at the top on image name, any tags you want. I have it set to go. Well, obviously we're going to do latest. That's the default, and then whatever my commit hash is will also be a tag, just so I have consistency and want to pull an old one out of the repo, I can. And then here's our. Just going to grab the container file, then we'll push it. And I added a script to clean up old images, so I just didn't have them accumulating for forever. But yeah, that's the idea. So I'm not typing command. I'm not wasting any calories on this. I only focus on changes or what matters or a time-based schedule and this type of stuff. And like I said, Renovate Bot is actually doing it for me instead of the time-based stuff. And that's it. Okay. Any questions? Am I everybody with me? We remember what containers are, and we can boot them. Okay. If you remember that, you got this. What? What's booting? I don't know. That wasn't a serious question, right? Okay. Okay. I need different slides for that. Okay, so let's see. So we're gonna work with the local VM here. I'm gonna. Oh, by the way, I run KDE. I saw you had KDE up. So if you notice these core dumps, that's KDE fun. Okay, let's see. I think I called it upgrade. No. Well, whatever. We'll just do it on the terminal. 1 second. Okay, so let me make this bigger. Don't worry about trying to read this. Display is not active. Great. What's the first? Do what? No. What is the first rule of IT? First rule of IT. We would all be fired and unemployed a long time ago if rebooting didn't fix 90% of problems, right? Do what? Okay. I hope so. God dang it. I did intentionally try to set low expectations for this demo. Yeah, I blame you guys for not having my back. No, it's not. We're gonna make this work.
That's why we got the back.
Yeah, in fact, we may do that. Yes, I'm literally trying Chrome instead. Always make the root password Red Hat so I can remember it. And don't worry about reading this. I hope so. I am going to do it through SSH because I hate terminals. All right. Yay. Okay. Now, I'm going to run a fancy command. Which, by the way, let me make this bigger. Don't worry about all that text. One of the things that's coming in RHEL 10 is, and 9.6 is, you'll be able to do this in type system. This is a privilege command. You have to be root. Okay. System bootsy reinstall. We'll type that big command in. Now, what this is going to do when I run it, all I did was install 9.5. Just Anaconda, give me 9.5. I told you we've built a container image. This is going to be the Microsoft SQL one. And what we talked about, I can use Anaconda to install that container, right? But I can also say, what if I don't want to mess with cloud images? I don't want to go through the time of generating an AMI or a VMDK, pushing it to a store, and then launching that, and then doing that for every single thing, right? Like if you do that for everything, it ends up being a lot. I did not test this. So see how I'm lowering the bar? If I did it right, this will reprovision the system with one command. It's important that you be root and use this responsibly, right? all root commands, great power. What does Spider-Man say? It comes great something. So give it like 20 seconds and we should be good.
So are you installing this to the box or to a virtual machine you have to?
The same container is running on that box and was installed to it. This, I'm showing redeploying a virtual machine that's already been deployed, which is an interesting, it's not something that we do much today, right? So, you know, you think about it, you either use like a gold template image or you consume something from a cloud provider. Okay, I'm gonna reboot into the container. What's the right command to reboot in Linux? I heard it back there. Yes, my guy. It's so what? Sir, this is not a safe place. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, my key. Sorry, I should have cleaned up the key. Let's do this real quick. So, oops, sorry, it should be known host. Why did I hit that error? It's regenerated the keys on first boot, right? But you can actually scrape keys and put them in the file if you wanted to. I don't. I'm too lazy. Okay. Okay. Now, not boot D, boot C. Okay. Cat Etsy OS release, and I'm running RHEL 9.5, right? So just to show proof of life here, we'll just actually provision a database. Yeah, if you've ever messed with SQL, it's pretty cool. What's interesting, okay, what we didn't talk about was like persisting data. How does that work on an immutable operating system? Anybody know? Anybody care about data? That totally will do it. Also, var by default is where everything writes because we like logs. Logs cool. Logs good. That's where we store container images by default. We like that, right? So we want that stuff to persist. So var is persistent on this system. That is where databases are stored. Okay, so it works. Don't worry about what it's doing. I just imported a database and now I just did a big query on everything. Select star. And so var is going to be persistent. And so the next update that Red Hat pushes out to the base image will get rebuilt. It'll get deployed onto the system. Potentially, the version of SQL Server will increment. But the database, the important stuff, is move it away from the mic, is still persistent, and they're like all my data is safe, right? It's that part is not immutable. Everybody got that? var writable. Okay. That's exactly right. Other things we bind mount into var. So home is one. Etsy is persistent. It's not bind mounted under var. Etsy is actually one where we do a merge. So if you override something locally on the system, we'll keep those overrides, unless you want to reset it and make that file managed in the container. You can do both. So those are the only things like that, and it makes the system run just like a normal OS. How are we doing on time, Nick? Doing good? Okay. All right, so what you just saw was I got an image, or what if I need a different cloud image, but I don't want to go through the time of building, uploading, talking to a different team to get it uploaded, and then it'll be done. The ticket will be done in a week and a half. But I don't want to do that. Just let me get my job done. Next thing I want to show is who likes doing major OS upgrades. One guy. 3 guys. What do you like most about it?
Fun.
It's fun.
I like it wrong.
He said a lie.
I like learning new things.
Yeah. Well, you like the result of it, right? Yeah.
And to be fair,
Oh, get this guy a microphone. Come on up here, sir. Okay. What do you think that system's going to show? Upgrades. It's called upgrade demo. I don't know. You gotta keep up, guys. Okay. Oh, great. I can't type in it though. Oh, I can't. It's just slow. Okay, one more thing. So I haven't showed Bootsy upgrade, but it'll just go to the same container repo, same registry inside the repo. Grab that updated container, put it on. You reboot. You're into the update. But what if you want to switch to a different tag or a different one? In fact, let me go back to a different browser that was set up for this. Okay. So I've got 2 container files. There's many ways to do this. You can actually just sub the from line with a variable, or you can have different files for different distros. Why this matters, we actually have a lot of software companies who they have to be thinking 4 years out from when their product gets to market, okay? So we do have a bunch of partners that they have to run things in Fedora, CentOS Stream, RHEL betas, the next betas for majors, and all the minors, right? This file makes doing the builds, testing, and validation like way easier than trying to do that without technology like this. Again, we're going to go back to GitHub Actions, and it's the same thing you saw otherwise, and don't worry about all this. We have blog posts that writes this, or explains all this, rather. This will just go through the various tags, and so I'm building this for RHEL 9 and RHEL 10, and every single update, this is going to spit out both images, right? So on the system, we're just running a basic web server. You can't, I know the text is probably small. That's curling the loopback address. Everybody knows loopback, right? We need to have a conversation about loopback. Okay, yeah. All right, so web server's up. And now, I know some of you can't see what I'm typing. I'm typing boot C switch. And I'm hitting my registry. Oops. Anybody taking bets on if I'm going to have a typo? So the tag this one is running right now is latest EL9. I'm in RHEL 9.5. As soon as I hit enter, this is going to switch to a different container. When you can clearly see SE Linux is on for the gentleman over here. And basically, this is going to upgrade the system for me, right? I'm moving to a major release. And I'm going to make you watch it because that's awesome. Yeah. 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 Great question. This setup that you see here, I have a server that runs. This is for JHO or whatever. It's basically like one of the open source GitHub things. And then actually this machine is my workstation at my desk that I use. It's brand new. It's sweet. It's fast. I love it. that is the runner for the server, right? And so every 2 hours, the renovate config runs every 2 hours to look and check, is everything up? Do I need to do anything? Correct. It's running on my whatever box is doing the runner. So where GitHub Actions, where the actions actually take place, is where renovate bot is running. There's actually many ways you can set it up. That's just the way I did it. Yeah. It's actually even easier on there. Just like any of the how-to configs, I don't actually know where it gets executed, to be honest, but it's like 6 lines of JSON and it works like magic. It's really cool, and we'll send you a lot of emails. Okay, this might be done. It is done. Okay, so look at this. We see RHEL 10 is staged. You probably can't see it, but the top line shows it's RHEL 10, and system control reboot, because just typing the word reboot is, we've already talked about that. Yay, yay, it works like a cell phone. That's what you can clap, come on. This is why I don't get invited here much. But if I look, obviously the same container, the workload is still running, so there were no problems with this. Just for funsies, let's curl the loopback, and it's of course responding. Yeah, and if I wanted to do bootsy rollback, I'd go right back and be no problem. So if my registry queued up a bunch of different minor releases of RHEL or whatever you wanted to, I could cycle through all those. We could do it programmatically. We could do whatever. But it's so freaking portable and powerful. You get the exact same thing. Or if I just want to Podman run this container and work with it that way, it's the same thing everywhere, which I think is cool. Huh? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This guy wants the computer. That's all I'm saying. This guy wants it. Okay, so where is this useful? When we started getting really aggressive with this technology back, it was November of 2023, and I would have told you this is relevant for any type of deployment where there's like more than 5 identical systems, right? Like we run a bunch of Tomcat, like great, easy, low-hanging fruit. We have a bunch of Hadoop systems, like great, easy. Nowadays, after trying this on a bunch of like snowflake systems that are individual, that they matter, that I care about the data, it works everywhere. If you have the automation in place, which is actually super simple to do, it's completely agnostic. You can use, if you're a Jenkins shop, if you like GitLab, if you like OpenShift pipelines, which by the way, we have examples of all of these that are coming out where you can just clone a template and go forward. It works everywhere. These are some of the ones that we think are kind of the no-brainer edge use cases. Like if you're doing standalone container host and you're deploying containers on there, you might as well manage the host operating system just like the applications, right? Yeah, and same from there. And so we've got a blog post that elaborates on all this if anyone is interested. How are we on time?
You're good. I think the food comes out in about 10 minutes.
So
if you want to keep going, that's fine. We could also, we definitely can plug this in and show it booting, but obviously streaming that image down will take a little bit. But if people want to see that firsthand, we can prove to you that this is in fact real on a device you can hold.
Yeah, it's already running the SQL image, so yeah, we can. Okay, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see the best way to get started this? Do you want to edit that? What? Yeah.
Is it all vanilla Podman?
okay, great question. On the system where we install it, there is no container anything. It's on the system, right? It is running. When we build the image, all of these were just built with like podman build, point at the container file. But you can use any, it's completely agnostic. Anything that makes an OCI standard image. So if you're Docker shop, use Docker, use whatever.
And then the follow-up is, so is it like a Zen zero thing with the bare metal, or is it?
No, okay, so it literally writes the container to the disk, and then part of what bootc does is part of the magic of bootc is it actually writes your bootloader, like it takes over the bootloader entry, and then it boots just like any Linux system. And so it literally is running on the metal. There's no DOM0, no LXC, no extra like C group sandboxing. It is the real thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Based on that, since it's running a kernel and stuff, does it use a license or is it?
Oh yeah. Great question. Yeah. So if any system, okay, so the way we do subscriptions at Red Hat is any box that's running RHEL has to be covered by a sub, and so that works here. Now, where there's like, I don't want to say gray area, but where it's a little different is with containers, right? So if you're running these as a container image, for testing, validation, those types of things, like it's not like strict on that side, right? But when you boot it, right, now you're running a RHEL system. So as long as it's covered with a sub, you're golden. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Oh, they're the same. They're the same. Dan Walsh gives me a hard time if we say Docker file. That's all. That's the only thing. Good. That's a good question, though. I probably should have said Docker file earlier. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same thing without using the D word. There's a bunch of stories about that. Anyway, or maybe after a beer. Was there another hand? Or yeah.
So this might manage the OS. Can this also work for updating applications as well?
Okay. Yes. Now, where you use it though matters. Okay. So let's see. This is a really good in-depth question. So hang with me. I'm gonna preach. Okay, so we like containers because it separates, right, the OS from the container. So there's a couple different ways to embed them. Is anybody familiar with quadlets? A little bit.
I've never made them work.
Really? Okay, we'll fix that today. I got a bunch of examples. We'll fix it. Quadlet's it's a systemd generator that runs the big long podman command, so you don't have to run it, right? So it's just really easy to break that down. And then you can do cool things like auto update my image. Whenever a new image, podman will just do the right thing. So quadlets are probably the best way to just pull containers in and run them. Actually, all these examples, if anybody wants to see, it's all quadlet based. Now that's kind of the old world, right, where they're separate. There's two things. We can logically bind containers, which is where bootc will be in charge of when an application gets updated with the OS. And then there's physically bound container images. So if I'm doing like an edge device and I need a bunch of containers in, I probably want those in the bootc image so that when it comes up, everything is there, right? When I start my car, I want infotainment work, right? Don't download an image, right? So think that kind of mindset. Logically bound, it's the same thing, except when we type bootc upgrade, right, the command to pull an update, if we've told it these are logically bound containers, it will prefetch them from the registry and tee up the container images as part of the update for the node. So it looks inside the future container, finds what version of the apps it needs, and they'll all move as one unit. Now, this is useful for all kinds of things. Could be agents, could be kernel-specific applications that are tightly bound. We run into a lot of that in the telco space where they have a bunch of accelerated stuff. So they want the decoupling and the coupling at the same time, and this kind of gives us a language or a mechanism for that. That's a good question. This gets like way more advanced, but it's, I don't know. Did you have any follow-ups or?
No.
Okay. Okay. I think, are we out of time or?
Yeah, we can break here. I mean, yeah, we're right up to it. So.
Well,
You know,
so here's the deal. If you're new to this, what you,
okay.
why didn't that? Oh yeah, minimize it. I'm so awkward on Macs. I know you can totally read all of this. Has anybody heard of Podman Desktop? Not enough of you. It is super cool. You can run it on Mac, Windows, or Linux, whatever you want. There is a bootc extension you can grab. There's also one you can authenticate with Red Hat, so you can pull it. It takes care of subscription manager for you. It authenticates our registry for you. It makes everything just work, and you can do it with a no-cost developer subscription. There's no money involved in what we're talking about here. So this is really cool, and you can build bootable containers with this. And then if you want to make a disk image, I know you can't read. I can't read it, and I'm staring at the screen. But basically, pick your container image. What format? Do you want a raw image? Do you want a QCOW? Do you want an Anaconda, ISO, VMDK, AMI, all that, Azure, Google? What kind of file system do you want to let down? If you do it on a Mac, I can do multi-arch images. Like I can do ARM Annex 86, which is pretty cool. And then like this build config is like, what username do you want? Do you want to inject an SSH key? Like what? It just makes it so easy, and then boom, you're done. Super cool. This is definitely the best way to get started and play with this technology. It's fantastic. And again, there's like this isn't like a purchase thing, right? So yeah. So whoever wins that has to make a bootable container, and then has to push it to a registry. If you make it public, you don't have to worry about secrets, and then you can just go type bootc switch, boom, and that box will run your container. That's a fair trade for free computer, right?
Yeah, and I deployed Bazite, which is Fedora based. If you want to know more about it, talk to Noel in the blue shirt back there. But I've deployed that in there. You can turn it into a little gaming box. So I mean, you can do this in the upstream as well, in Fedora based. But obviously, like, I mean, it's really cool. It's pretty powerful.
I didn't realize Noel was my plant. What's up, man? Yeah, anyway.